Hi, this is Eventually Elle, and welcome to my channel. So I am here living in the southwest of France, and so this channel is all about all things French, about solo travel, about being over 50 and living abroad, the French language, French culture. So if those things interest you, please go and like and subscribe. So I wanted to just give you an update where we are today, what's been going on. So I've been here now 2 months, and so this is my 2 month update. And boy, a lot's gone on. So there's been some peaks and valleys, and so I just got to say, when you watch these content creators and they're like, everything is so perfect, don't believe the hype. So, whenever you move abroad, there's just a lot of change and a lot of things do not work just like, things are in the US. So there's an adjustment period. And I think maybe even more so if you're older because you're more used to just the way that things are in your own country. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about that, where I've been and what I've been experiencing. And yeah, and then the other thing, so I want to just kind of start with something too, which is to say one of the reasons, because there's a lot of reasons that brought me here. But I think initially, one of the things, the reason why France, because people often say, well, why France? I have been struggling with this language for a very long time, and it's just been a fascination, bordering on an obsession for a while. So when I was a kid, I went to a very preppy girls' school. I was the only black kid in my class for a very long time. And I remember we had this teacher, and he came to class and he was from France, and he looked like a stereotypical, what you would call a beatnik. Like he wore all black, he smoked cigarettes, he had black, hair that was all wild and crazy, and he might have worn a beret for all I know, but he looked like a stereotypical artist, and I think he was also an other. So in my school, where everyone was blonde and preppy and old money, I sort of gravitated and I was like, where's he from? And so it just kind of opened a door that there was a whole world out there of other people who spoke other languages. And I think he was one of the first memories I have of that kind of thing. And so it just kind of touched a nerve, and my family's from New Orleans, and so there was always sort of like a appreciation for French culture, I'd say. So my grandmother just, she loved French culture, and she certainly handed down that passion to me. So I think that was part of it. So I majored in English with a French minor, and so here we are. But I've never been able to speak French fluently, and that's been an ongoing like obsession because I feel like I'm so close, but yet I can't quite get there. So to this day, I remain somewhere like at a B1 level, which is probably like a early intermediate. So well, I know I can get around, I can talk to people, but I can't say really complicated stuff. So my goal this year is to really get to B1 or no B2 so that I can speak fluently. That is my goal. So count me. You guys can hold me to that. So let's just talk about some of the stuff that's been going on lately. So, and I guess I just want to say that when you go into this journey, you just have to be flexible. It's so important because you're going to get a lot of things thrown at you. So when I first came here, I rented an Airbnb and I thought, okay, great, I've got something hammered down. And the way I like to travel is sort of slow travel, which is you get somewhere and then once you're there, you sort of stake out the area. And if you want to move, you move. Like if you're like, you know what, I really prefer that neighborhood, or you know what, this isn't really working for me. So I like to kind of, if it's a long trip, get something for a period of time, and then but also be able to go and find something new. So I know that there are maybe some people who are like, oh, I just want to know where I am and I just want to have something locked down. It's never really worked for me because the other thing too is that I find that initially I have a very like American mindset, which is that I want something large and I want all the gizmos and the doodads and the this and the that. And then when I get somewhere, I sort of over time I can acclimate to whatever the living situation is there. So that's kind of how I go about it. So I did rent a place for the idea was for a few months. That turned into a total disaster because I got there and she, unbeknownst to me, she had said there was going to be some like the apartment next door, they were going to do some renovation. Fine enough, but like literally she was hammering, or she not she had workers all throughout the building. She owned the building. They were hammering, drilling, tearing down wallpaper from the 16th century. There were all kinds of nauseous fumes, and this went on day in and day out. And they started at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so when this was like my worst nightmare. So I had no sleep. I was really stressed out from moving to another country, and she was not nice. She was not. The other thing too is that customer service is different, and the ideas that which are that like Americans feel like, oh well, I paid for this, and so I should get this and this, and that was definitely not the experience I had. So I was not sleeping well. I had all this like dust and fumes coming from the all the renovation. There were all these workers night and day, and I think I was in that building all alone, and I really did not feel safe. There were holes in the walls and pipes and wires, and honestly, I just was like, I really did not feel safe. But the thing is that I didn't have anywhere else to go because I just arrived, and there was, the school year. This is where I am, is a college town, so there just were not a lot of rentals. And so when I was looking around, everyone said, "Well, you got to wait a few months because things are not going to open up because all the students are back in town." So that was really disappointing, and I thought I could just grin and bear it, but I couldn't. And so after about 3 weeks, I finally found another rental, which I moved into, and that was it was very nice. It was nice to have a place to land. However, lesson learned there was that while it was very beautiful and modern, there were no windows. So they only had dormer windows, which is those skylight windows. And so I literally never knew what time it was. I never knew. I just never knew. So that was a problem. And I just kind of felt like it would be a beautiful day outside, and I just didn't even know that it was a beautiful day. So that went. And so then now I finally found my dream apartment. And this is one of the things that, has always worked for me, which is that when you get somewhere, you start to meet people, you start to tell people who hey, I'm looking for an apartment. And eventually, what's always worked for me is eventually something shows up. So I have always had to be on the ground. I've always had to sort of like feel my way around something, but that's just how I do things. And this has been a little more stressful for me because I've had a lot of luggage, and normally I travel very lightly because I know that I like to sort of be a free spirit when it comes to traveling. But because I knew I was going to be here for a long time, I did bring a lot of luggage, which has inhibited my ability to, kind of go here or move Airbnbs really easily and so on and so forth. So that's what's been going on. But now I'm in my dream apartment. I love it. It's kind of been like, oh, I did do the right thing. And, sometimes good things come to those who wait. And I think that's what I've learned in this experience. So I wanted to just kind of say that. And so just to remember that, like, this journey, you have got to be flexible. Another thing, too, which was a little bit of a challenge for me, was the weather. I was in this town in 2019 before the pandemic, and it was always beautiful, and it was just magical. This year, I don't know what the weather patterns are, but it has been raining, it has been cold, it has been just really not great weather. And so, because the last place I was living in, there was no metro stop near me, there was only a bus, and I come from Los Angeles where we don't have weather, so I'm not really thinking about how am I going to get somewhere. So for me, every day trying to get to school by 9 o'clock in the morning has been really, really challenging because the only way I can get there really was a bicycle in the rain. So, for someone else it might be fine. For me, an LA girl who just can't deal with, anything other than sunshine, I have to just say I struggled. So now I am walking distance because I love to walk, and that works for me. So again, I guess you have to know who you are. And so if you're a person who likes to walk, then be walking distance. If you're a person who doesn't mind, like I didn't want to ride the bus, and then you take the bus and you take the metro, because part of moving from the US was I wanted to get rid of my car. I wanted to get out of, transportation. I wanted to either walk or ride my bicycle. Of course, a bus and a metro are not the same as riding in a car, but I just wanted that kind of to be able to do that. Anyway, so now I'm walking distance from school, and I have to just say too, for me, like this rhythm of going to school every day was super challenging because I've been self-employed for 10 years, and I have not had to be anywhere at 9 o'clock in the morning every single day for a very long time. So that just really kicked me in the you know what, and French is hard. I want to just say this language, sometimes I was like, who am I kidding? Like, I can't do this. This is so hard. Um, but the thing is that I keep at it. I keep trying. I have intensified my learning, and my new thing, which I can highly recommend, is I've been going on ChatGPT, and it's been giving me like a weekly studying plan. So it'll say, do 3 hours of this, listen to this podcast, watch this TV show, and now I'm also going to like get out, and I would also recommend this is like join gyms where you hear different kinds of the French spoken. So, school French is one thing. They're speaking very clearly, they're speaking very slowly, and you start to learn that rhythm. Then you go to a gym. Now they're speaking differently. I even went to some community centers because here in France, there are lots of places where you can learn French for free or for a nominal amount because they really want to make sure that people who immigrate here can speak French properly. And I think it's probably 30 euros a year to join one of these community organizations, and they have French once a week. And that French is very different from the French that they're teaching me at school. So I would say if you can, just really try different types of French. See how everyone is speaking to you, and and that is going to just really accelerate your learning. So I'm really on board for that. And what else did I want to talk about? Oh, loneliness. Yeah, loneliness is a thing. So you leave your home and you come here, and if you're traveling solo, expect to deal with loneliness. Um, you know, Part of it is I sort of wanted to enclose myself in a bubble of French language. And so I didn't want to be around a lot of English speakers. And, that was a choice, certainly. But yeah, you're going to definitely deal with loneliness. And I'd say my experience, somebody can tell me if this is different, but my experience has been that, French culture isn't necessarily very open to foreigners. Maybe it takes a little bit of time, but, when you first get here, you're not going to have friends, and people already have friends. Just like in the States, I already have a group of friends. And so it's sort of hard to penetrate those French circles. So, and even, for example, there's a book group, but it's English speaking, and I'm not quite at the French level where I could even attempt to be at a French book club. But anything that you can do that can immerse yourself with other French people. I know associations is a big thing here, so they're sort of similar to meetups. So if you have an interest like hiking or swimming or whatever it happens to be, I highly recommend that because that's another great way to meet people that live here. Um, and let's see, is there anything else that I want to say? So yeah, I think that my overall lesson 2 months in is be flexible, be open. And I saw something on Instagram. I saw something on Instagram lately, and it was talking about glimmer. And I've really been thinking a lot about that. So it's like find the things that give you glimmer in the day. So, for example, I will be riding my bicycle, and it's just beautiful. And I'm like, wow, I ditched my car. I can ride my bicycle. I'm surrounded by beauty. It makes me so incredibly happy. It gives my soul just such a warm feeling. And so every day, just find those things that give you glimmer. Like today I got, there was a line, and I went to the baguette store, the boulangerie, and I bought a warm baguette, and I just thought, wow, that makes me so happy. And, here's a little pro tip too, which I didn't know. So I guess the boulangeries, they have, boulangeries, but if you see the word artisanal, in the States, I think that means something else, but here it means that they make the items all in-house. So the products are done there. And so that's an artisanal boulangerie. So that's what I have to say on my 2 months in. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, or maybe that's a little bit strong, but I can certainly see that things are looking good. So I'm happy. I'm ensconced in a beautiful apartment. You can see this lovely thing behind me. And yeah, so thanks for coming. And like I said, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe. And if you have any questions for me, let me know what they are, because I definitely am taking notes. I'd love to hear what you're interested in or what you want to hear about. And maybe I'll do what do we call this? Maybe I'll do a YouTube thingy about it. All right. So thanks so much, and tout à l'heure. Ciao.